Picture this. You are 20-something trying to break into the world of football journalism. You see the glamorous interviews, the inside scoops, but what does it really take to get there? Welcome to From the Sidelines, the podcast where we explore the lives of sports journalists and what it means to find your feet in the industry. I'm Rivaldo Jantjies, and today alongside Tristan Monzeglio, we're thrilled to have Mazola Molefe with us. Mazola is one of the most respected voices in South African sports journalism, with a career that spans years of hard work and breaking major stories. Today he'll take us through his journey, what it was like navigating his 20s in this competitive space, and the lessons he's learned along the way. If you're an inspiring journalist or simply curious about the behind-the-scenes life in football, this episode is for you.
Welcome to the second episode of From the Sidelines, a podcast centered around football journalism and how to navigate such a competitive industry in your 20s. I'm Tristan Monzeglio, and I'm joined today by my co-host, Rivaldo Jantjies.
Thank you, Tristan. We're really excited to kick this journey off with our guest. This podcast is all about the stories behind the headlines. So basically the challenges and the real-life experiences of those who bring us a beautiful game from the sidelines. And I feel like we're starting strong. Our guest is someone that made a name for himself in the football media, 2022, 2023 South African Football Journalist of the Year. So he's here to share his journey with us, Mr. Mazola Molefe. Thank you for joining us.
No, it's a pleasure. Thanks for the invitation, guys. It brings back some memories. I mean, Wits wasn't as fancy as this when I was a student, but but it brings back some good memories.
Well, thank you for accepting. We're really grateful.
For sure.
Cool. We'll just hop right into it. Just to follow up what you just said. So you said you started off as a Witsie, yeah? Could you go into more detail on that? Did you start off in journalism, or what was your initial path?
Yeah, my initial path was a little bit different. I would have... I came here with the idea that I wanted to be either a lawyer or something else. I mean, journalism was not in my path at all, and then when in fact, I started off, I went across the road to it's now University of Johannesburg, but it was Rao at the time, to apply, to try and do, to see if I can get into the LLB class, but it was full. Then I came to Wits. And when I got here, I mean, there was something about Wits when I arrived. I just liked the vibe. It just felt a little bit more, to what I was used to, coming from a boarding school background as well. And then I tried to apply for the LLB degree. The class was full as well, but they had guidance teachers who said, well, you could do a 5-year curriculum. You could do this, and that, and then maybe after a year, you could then, go into the LLB class because you would already been inside Wits. It would be a lot easier for you to change your curriculum or change your career choice. But after a year of doing English literature, sociology, I did a bit of philosophy, but I quit after 6 months, and then a few of the international relations, I stuck it out. But journalism only came into my path, I think, my final year at Wits, which would have been in 2007. 2007, I was staying at Banato Hall, and we were doing a journalism, just like what you guys are doing now. We were interviewing journalists around service delivery. I mean, it's so sad that it's so many years ago, but service delivery is still a major issue if you watch the news now, and just with everything. In fact, I think it's even worse now. At the time, so we were interviewing a couple of journalists from the Mail and Guardian, Sowetan, Citizen. We went around, just newspapers. We were not necessarily doing TV newsrooms and that. and just from observing how the guys were carrying themselves, how they had the passion for journalism, it sparked something in me that I changed my direction to. I actually don't know what I was gonna do after that, but after that project, which probably lasted about 3 months, I then had a clear sense of that I probably could follow journalism, and I inquired about the journalism postgrad honors class, and I had applied. I'm pretty confident I would have gotten in, but then I got a graduate invitation for a graduate program at, it's changed the name so many times. It's called Arena Holdings now. It was called Johnny Communications. It had the Sowetan, still has the Sowetan, Business Day, Sunday World, the Herald in the Eastern Cape, and I think a few others I'm forgetting now, but obviously the most prominent newspaper there is the Sunday Times, and at the time it had just launched a new daily newspaper called The Times, which is defunct now because I think finances and whatever the case may be, they only have that website, the Times Live website. And yeah, that's how my journalism career started. I got there. In fact, when I got there, I was supposed to be a news reporter doing financial reporting, in fact, because of I suppose my background as well, with my majors, and I also don't know, I guess maybe they picked me because when we did the interviews I came across as someone who could do financial journalism, but I did not have that in my background per se, but obviously I had politics and whatever, and they wanted someone who could cover that aspect, with political background and all of that stuff. So I got in, but after 6 months of doing just about everything, from political stories, from interviewing models, fashion shows, going to shoots, covering everything, to human interest stories, to that time when there was xenophobic attacks. In fact, that was my first front page story. I went to Alexandra. They send the intern to say, oh, someone died, go interview the family, come back with the story. It's probably page 4, page 5, and while I'm there, all hell breaks loose. People start shooting rubber bullets. I'm thinking, what the hell did I get myself into? I'm ducking, running away from rubber bullets, the scariest shift of my life, and I'm thinking, can I do this? I come back, I get the thrill of obviously having my first front page story, but I'm sitting there thinking, can I survive? Like, can I cover hard news in this fashion, and it happened, I think, 2 weeks in a row that I went to another story in Kai Sands. There were some tensions there, and then rubber bullets started flying. I think when I was at, I lived in a commune in Auckland Park, and I remember I had a rubber bullet that I picked up on the floor on my desk as a reminder of like what I've really gotten myself into. And then after 6 months or so, I just kind of felt, okay, I don't know if I'm going to grow in this field, because there were also a lot of other senior political journalists that when a big story happens, it's them on the front lines or whatever. I knew that it would take me time, but looking at the people around me, I thought, it would take me forever to be regarded as a senior journalist, being in the front line of covering hardcore news. So I changed my direction, and as I said, the Times was a fairly new publication at the time. It was about 6-7 months old. They didn't have a football writer, and I said, hey, I played football at school. I played for the varsity league, and I have an understanding, and I'm a journalist, so why not test me out? So the editor put me in charge of football. I started going to PSL games, and I guess the rest is history. I started building my name from there as my mentor Archie Henderson, who was mostly a cricket writer but with an understanding of most of the sports, and he just kind of taught me how to report press conferences, match reports, find breaking stories, chase news. And I think that's where it came from, because I love news. I can go to a match, do a match report, which I did for years. But I like the stuff that you've seen maybe on my profile, whatever, transfer movements. I want to know what's happening inside the clubs. What are the big deals? Who's doing what, where, how? So because my journalism training comes from covering hardcore news. So even when I'm doing sports, yes, it's entertainment, but there's a news element to it, so I've found a way to try and merge the two, entertainment and hardcore news, which people enjoy as well, I think so I've enjoyed it so much, and obviously I've moved across over now to SABC some 2.5 years ago, where I've now become not only just a journalist but match day TV presenter and sportscaster, radio and other things as well. And with new media, you have to keep you on your toes. You can't just do one thing. You can't just do you can't just write, you can't just be on radio, TV, there's social media. You have to evolve in your coverage of how you cover the news. So that's pretty much my journey summed up.
Looking back now, what was the moment when you realized that journalism was the right path for you?
I think the light bulb came on 6 months into that graduate program. We went from different newsrooms, which it's an incredible experience. I would do it again. We started in late Jan, early Feb. I think it was early Feb. Where we probably spent a month or two in class. Really, it felt like the first few weeks I was like, I'm back in class, but it was a little bit different because you were learning the skills, you were harnessing your skills as a journalist, and you were being taught the basics of covering news. It wasn't just because as I said to you guys, the idea was not that we would become sports journalists. They were not creating sports journalists. They were creating news journalists who would cover different types of news, whether it's entertainment, but hopefully for them with a particular focus on the business side of news as business writers, essentially, because I think there was a shortage of business writers at the time. People who could read finances and translate it into layman's terms and write for the Business Day, the Sunday Times business section and things like that. But before that, they had to teach us how to, the ethics code, how to go about tackling a controversial story, how to go about tackling a human interest story. So we then moved from different newsrooms. Some who perhaps were coming from the Western Cape or the Eastern Cape then went back home to be plugged into their own communities to cover stories from that angle as well. We moved across, but me and a couple of others stayed in Johannesburg. I was at the Business Day for a few weeks. Then I moved to the Times, covering politics and entertainment and whatever else. And then, as I said, after those hectic xenophobic attack stories that I've been covering, I think I covered them for about 3 weeks or so, because that thing went on for quite a bit, where Joburg was just, you could feel the tension walking around the Joburg streets, that anything could happen, especially downtown in the CBD area, Bramfontein and whatever the case may be. Maybe not so much moving to the Auckland Park side, but you could feel it around the CBD area. And after doing that, I had to sit back and reflect, and I realized that, and I had to ask myself that question: can I do this for the rest of my life? Can I chase hardcore news like this for the rest of my life? Can I chase politicians for the rest of my life? Can I, and I just felt like maybe if there was no opening in the sports department, I probably would have decided, okay, I have to put my big boy pants on and get on with it. But because there was an opening, I just thought to myself, okay, I need to try something else and see how that goes. And as soon as I jumped over there, and I think also it was the relationship with the editor, who obviously became my mentor as well. Just took me in as really just someone coming in, learning the basics. And every day when I came back from a story, I'd sit next to him and we would write the piece together. And also he was a hard news man, so he even though he was a sports editor, but he had a background of covering news. So he taught me that to always have a news focus, so that it's interesting for the reader as well to go find a story, not just go to a press conference and kind of sit there and wait for the angle to come to you. You have to ask yourself questions to say, what's the angle here? What's the story? Why am I going to this press conference? Why is it significant? So tick those boxes, and then it's easier to come back with a few angles to say, okay, my leading headline or my leading intro is this one, and then I'm gonna build the story around that. So I think in that few months before eventually I got a permanent contract, that's when the aha moment came through, that okay, this I can do for the rest of my life.
Well, moving on to more the day-to-day things that
Yeah.
you deal with as a sports journalist, you're clearly a very ambitious guy. I would think that's fair to
Yes,
say.
absolutely. You're right, Tristan.
I think that's very fair to say.
Yeah.
And moving through different industries and
Yeah.
being sure of yourself, I think it comes off how you speak. But just in terms, because football is it's a crazy industry. You don't get sleep. Things happen.
Yes. My phone is always buzzing.
Yeah, I'm sure. And it's how do you manage that as the work-life balance? How do you manage your ambitions along with keeping your life in check without burning out?
Yeah, it's funny you should ask that, because funny enough, this morning I was listening to a podcast where it's one of my favorite preachers in the USA. His name is Mark Tristan. He was talking about avoiding divorce, and making sure that you find time to have a Sabbath and rest in between and whatever. And that really struck me, because I constantly have to remind myself to find a balance between my job and my family. But I also think, because I love my job so much, and I involve my family in it, I involve my kids in it. I remember when I went to go cover the 2019 Africa Cup of Nations in Egypt, the kids were on school break. They went to their grandmother's house, and instead of leaving my wife home, I took her to the Africa Cup of Nations, and she was coming to the stadium with me to watch the games. And especially for me, the time of the season that's the busiest is really during the transfer window period, where things are on the move. You hear one thing this morning, when you wake up the next day, it's completely changed. So you have to be on the pulse, and it can be extremely tiring. There are days where I just have to make sure that I completely switch off. I put my phone far away, because I know if it's close by, I'm gonna grab it and call someone and try to get the latest news and whatever. Sometimes I'll consciously either leave it upstairs in my study if I'm downstairs with the family, or leave it downstairs if I'm upstairs just having a downtime. But even in that, it's so difficult when you are doing something that you enjoy as much as I do. It feels like you never work a day in your life. I'm always full of ideas in my head. I'm always thinking of how the next story is going to be better than the last one. How my next social media post about a transfer move or a topic about the sport that I cover is going to be better than the next one. How the production can be better. How I can improve. So my mind doesn't rest from that point of view. And then on top of that, I'm a touchline presenter for SABC as well, so that involves a lot of traveling in between. My bosses wouldn't like me hearing me say this, but sometimes it feels like a blessing not to have as many games as SuperSport, who are the rights holders, because with that many games, that probably means you are never home. There's a game on Tuesday, there's a game on Wednesday, there's a game on Friday, there's a game on Sunday, there's a game on Saturday, and it goes on for 8 months. But with us not being rights holders, it means we aren't broadcasting as many games as they are. So in between here and there, you get some weekends where you have a bit of downtime. But I still, remember, besides being a match day TV presenter, I'm a journalist as well. So I still have to go find the news, report the news for our radio stations and that. So, but I think I'm a planner. So yeah, so being a planner helps me separate, not separate, but being able to balance the two, balance work and just life in general. I have a schedule. I know where I'm supposed to be, where, at what time, so I think that's helpful. You need that in your life. You can't just go through, especially when you have a family. I have 2 kids, 10 and 8. So when you have that to juggle around, that also means you have to factor them in as well, because they've got their thing. As they grow older, maybe it depends. They could be more demanding or less demanding, but you have to play your role as well. So for me, it's important to kind of mesh the two and still be brilliant at my job. Not be someone who, this guy has sent in his diary and it's late. He was supposed to send it before 9 a.m. and he sent it at 11, and his stories are only coming in at 7 p.m. when people are knocking off. The radio guys have been waiting for the story that he promised since the morning. He never delivered. He sleeps late. He wakes up in the middle of the night and works. People, he's not awake when he should be awake. He's sleeping when he should be awake. So for me, and also I train very hard at the gym as well. And for me, that's also important, that my mind and my body is fit and healthy, so that I can be excellent at my job. Because I know if I'm always tired, I have lack of sleep, I'm not going to be the best journalist that I need to be. I'm not going to be the best father that I need to be. I'm not going to be the best husband that I need to be. I'm not going to be the best brother, uncle or friend that I need to be. So those things, that circle, you have to make sure that each block is placed in the sort of correct block for everything to fit in well. It's not always precise, but I'm proud to say I think I've got a good balance in life, to be honest. On top of everything else that I do as obviously as a freelancer as well, to try and maintain my finances as well.
I like the fact that you spoke about wearing different hats, as a father, as a daughter. Building a successful career often comes with evolving definition of success. Right? What does success mean to you at this stage of your life?
Success for me means a lot of different things. As let me start with as a journalist, success for me means it's the little things as well. I mean, getting a call from you where you're saying to me, you are inspiring me in the work that you do. You're one of the journalists in media, whether football or sports in general, that I look up to. I'm like, oh, okay, I'm doing something right. Walking around when I'm at the stadium and I meet people and they want to engage me about the job that I do, it means they are enjoying what I'm doing. Being the first to every big story is important to me, because it means, one, people trust me with information, that I will not misuse it and I will report it accurately and factually. People respect that if they give me information as a source, it will stay that as confidential information that's come from a source. And in general, being the best at what I do. So that's that also is to some degree a definition of being successful at what you're doing. And also with that comes being an employee. Obviously, even if I'm a freelancer and I'm employed by different people, but in this instance, being at the moment employed more regularly by SABC than any other media house, because SABC is my bread and butter. And success to me is having, over the years that I've been a journalist, having different bosses, being in different stages, and feeling like everywhere that I've gone, my employers have seen my worth, and they've taken it upon themselves to always trust me with the big stories, trust me with the major tournaments. It might not start off that way because maybe I get there and we don't really know each other as yet. They don't know my character, they know my work, hence they brought me to the company, but they're just wondering, what can I trust him? If I send him on a major tournament for 3 weeks, can I trust this guy to deliver on a daily basis and not go be aloof and go gallivanting? And he's gone missing. We can't find. He's not sending copy. He's not meeting with the cameraman to shoot inserts that he needs to send back to South Africa. He's never there. He's there just for a good time and a good job. So to prove to all of them, I think you can bring all the people that I've worked under as my supervisors or my editors and put them here and ask them common traits about me. They'll tell you that I'm a hard worker, I love my job, I'm focused, I deliver on time, I'm consistent. And for me, that's another definition of success as well. You have to be consistent. If you pride yourself in your work as a journalist, but you deliver one good story every 6 months or one good story once a year, then you probably aren't a great journalist. You just stumble across one good story once in a while, which anybody can do. I'm sure if we threw you into the newsroom right now, in 12 months you will stumble across one good story. But if you have one good story every other day, every week, we're like, oh, Rivaldo has done it again. He's scooped everyone. He's gotten the major interview that nobody else could get. They've been trying to get that story for several weeks but have not been able to do that. Then that shows that you are, and of course awards at times, but that's a difficult one because being awarded things is subjective, because you can be a journalist for 20 years and never win an award, but your peers are like, Tristan is a great journalist. It's a pity that he doesn't win awards because they are very subjective. Some you get awards because there's a panel that you have to submit entries, and they then between themselves they decide which sort of stories they are looking for. Whereas I prefer for the panel to select themselves without any entries and say, okay, this guy has had a hell of a good year as a journalist and whatever, not awards for friends or whatever the case may be. So that's, awards are nice, to be recognized by your peers or people in the industry that, have been in the industry for long and have the authority to, or are seen in that light to be able to decide who's the best among, the five journalists or the 100 journalists that exist. But that shouldn't, for me, that's not the definition of success. It's the people around you, the lives that you've impacted, what your stories have done in the communities, what your stories have done for footballers who I interviewed when they were 18 years old and now they are retiring and they were like, this guy gave me my first interview.
Okay, cool. I think now we're going to just wrap up, but we're going to have some fun first.
Okay.
So we're going to do some rapid fire predictions for the upcoming PSL season, just to get your instant reaction.
Let's do it.
And your expert opinion, and just get it out. Okay. So, are you ready?
Yeah. As ready as can be.
Going to be maybe like 5 or 6. So.
Okay.
Cool. So first up, who are your champions for the upcoming PSL season?
Mamelodi Sundowns.
Alright.
You didn't have to think about that.
Yeah.
Would you see finishing in 2nd, 3rd and 4th place?
Orlando Pirates 2nd, Cape Town City 3rd, I think Super Sports United 4th.
Which teams do you think will face relegation?
Candidate for outright relegation between Magesi and Royal AM.
Who's taking the Golden Boot this season? Top goal scorer.
Yeah, if Tsejo stays injury free, I think he can do it again.
Cool. And then which new signing do you think will make the biggest impact this season?
Amadou Saukona at Cape Town City.
And who would be your player to watch?
I think Gaston Serino at Pirates, at Kaizer Chiefs.
Who's your manager to watch for this season?
Yeah, I think the obvious choice would be Nabi.
Thanks again for
Yeah.
joining us and sharing all your insights both about your journey and also the upcoming PSL
Yeah,
season.
it's gonna be interesting. Let's see how it goes. Thanks for having me, guys. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Cool, sweet.
And that's a wrap for this episode of From the Sidelines. We hope you enjoyed the conversation with Mazola Molefe, where he shared valuable insights from his journey through the world of football journalism. His story shows that success in this field doesn't happen overnight. It takes grit, consistency, and staying true to your passion. If Mazola's journey has inspired you to keep pushing forward, then we've done our job. This has been From the Sidelines, part of the We Should Be Writing podcast series by the Wits Vuvuzela Journalism and Media Studies Honours Class. This episode was produced by myself, Rivaldo Jantjies, and Tristan Monzeglio, with editing done by myself and graphics done by Tristan. Our theme music is courtesy of Pixabay. For full credits and more information, check out the Spotify for Podcasters page. Don't forget to follow us on social media at Wits Vuvuzela and explore more of our work at witsvuvuzela.com. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll catch you next time.